So Debbie, how'd you like that minestrone soup I brought you the other day?
Oh, Courtney, I loved it. Thank you so much. You know, it reminded me of why I fell in love with minestrone soup years ago when we were traveling in Europe. Stay tuned and we will share with you how you can make this soup a family favorite in your house too. Hi, I'm Debbie.
And I'm Courtney.
Welcome to the home of Almost Vegan Cooking School. I fell in love with minestrone soup several years ago, actually many years ago, when Paul and I used to travel to London on business. And on one of those trips, I can remember feeling so tired. I was pregnant. It was the end of the day. We were so hungry. It was raining outside. It was dark and we walked by this little Italian restaurant. I hope I can tell it without getting too choked up. But anyway, we went inside and there was just a few tables, beautiful white tablecloths, and I had my first bowl of Italian minestrone soup, and I've loved it ever since. And we went back so many times, and every time it was a little different. And that's what I want to share with you today, is how you can take this soup from any of the ingredients in your house and make it the way the Italians do. We have two versions for today, bright and sunny. That's what Courtney's gonna make, and mine will be thick and creamy.
Thanks for sharing that story, Debbie. That's beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome.
So this is a beautiful meal, and we're going to show you how to prepare it today using the basic vegetables, which include green beans, potatoes, carrots, onions, green beans. We have kale and some leeks. And these are actually all vegetables that I grow in my garden. So this is a great summer recipe if you want to make it nice and light and bright, and even throw in some of that zucchini that comes in abundance in your garden. So if you've been following us and our videos, you've seen us prepare and cook with most of these vegetables before, with the exception of the leeks. So we're going to focus on preparing those for you today.
So when you're in the grocery store, some of you may wonder and ask yourself, well, what's the difference between green onions and a leek? Well, they are from the same family, but surprisingly, green onions, the smaller of the two, have a much sharper, more pronounced flavor than the leek, which is mild and it has a hint of garlic. And you may even wonder, in a recipe, when you see scallions and green onions, it's the same thing, the same plant, and you use it interchangeably when we're cooking. So there's two ways to clean leeks. One is to give it a shower before you cut, and the second is to cut and then give the leeks a bath. So I'm going to show you the shower version, and I'm going to slice midway into the leek on both sides, and that will still keep this intact. And then I'm going to go over here and open it up and check it out. Holding it down so the sand falls away from the base. Our leeks are squeaky clean, and now Courtney is going to show you the second version.
So this is the second version. In this method, we're going to slice our leek first, and then we're going to bathe it in a bowl of water. So this time, we've started out by cutting the top and the bottom and removing the outer layer, just as Debbie did. We're going to cut this leek in half first, and that gives us a flat surface to work with. And we're just going to do some thin slices. We're going to submerge these in a bowl of water. And depending on where you get your leeks from, some may be dirtier than others. These look like we're starting out with pretty clean leeks today. but either way, we don't want to skip this step. So as you swish them around, you should see some of that dirt or sand go into the bottom of the bowl. And then after we clean them up a bit this way, we're just going to lift them out and put them into a colander. And if you don't have a colander, you can use a paper towel or something, or a bowl, but we want to just do it this way rather than pouring them, so we leave all that sand behind in the water bowl.
So our next component is our plant protein. And today we're going to be using kidney beans. But you may not realize it that cannellini beans are also the white version of the kidney bean, and so often that's used in minestrone soup because they're meaty and they continue to hold their shape even in a hot broth. And some of you may be interested to know that you can even purchase vegan plant-based Italian sausage, and we are going to be using one of these links in that rich and creamy broth coming up.
So we've talked about the vegetables and the plant protein that we're going to use for our soup today. Now we want to talk a little bit about the seasonings. So we're going to use some traditional Italian seasonings in our soup. Today we have some thyme, some basil, sage, marjoram, oregano, and parsley. These are all traditional Italian seasonings. These are the dried form that we'll be using today. And with the dried form, you want to add it to your soup pot pretty early in the process so it has time to build all that flavor. If you choose to use some fresh herbs, here's some fresh basil, you would add that a little later in the process, pretty much at the very end when you're ready to serve your soup. Now, the fresh herbs are very easy to grow. You might want to consider growing some of these even in some containers in your kitchen or on your patio. If you're growing some tomatoes, the basil, really easy to grow with the tomatoes. Just sprinkle a few around the bottom of the pot, and they are companion plants that grow really well together. Now for the dried herbs though, you do want to make sure that they are not past their expiration. So just take a few in your fingers, roll it around a little bit, and give it a smell, and you'll know it's fresh when you smell all that wonderful aroma. We're going to get started cooking our lighter version of the minestrone soup, and we've started heating up our pan, and we're going to dry saute our onions and our leeks. And you can hear that sizzle, and if necessary to keep it from sticking, you just splash a little bit of water in the pan. And we're just going to let that go for about 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, next we have our tomatoes. I'm going to add some broth. And some water. And then we're going to add our seasoning. These are some of the same seasonings we just discussed. So we're going to take this soup up to a boil, then we're going to turn it down to simmer, cover it, and let it cook for about 20 minutes.
So we've got 2 soup pots cooking away, 2 that we started identical. We have Courtney's over here, which is the summery and bright broth that we're going for. And this one in the red pot is going to be rich and creamy. And all we have to do is add 1 extra layer of cooking. And that is what I'd like to show you now. Now, traditionally, a lot of oil and egg yolk is brought into the tomato paste in order to achieve that. When I started cooking this way, I wanted to learn how to use plants and still have all kinds of flavor. So this is where you begin. We have 2 tablespoons of flaxseed milled up. Sorry about that. And I'm going to add about 1/3 cup of fresh water. And this is going to be our vegan eggs, but we're replacing the egg yolk. And next, instead of olive oil, I'm going to add a tablespoon or 2, whatever you like, of miso. And now we're getting something fermented in our soup, and it also adds a wonderful layer of flavor. Then after that, I have some vegan Parmesan cheese that we make in the food processor with 3 ingredients, and you'll just have to check out below for the recipe on that. And then I have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, for those of you who don't have tomato paste, you can even put in red pepper paste, and that works just as well. And then I'm gonna try and stir all this up, and then I'm gonna start adding my dried herbs. So I have some thyme, a little bit of basil, this time some sage, and I'm gonna add my salt into my tomato paste. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some of my hot soup broth into this mixture, and then I'm going to add it all back into our minestrone. And this is going to cook for 1 to 2 hours for really marrying all of these flavors together, and it is just incredible, the result at the end. I'm back at the stove and I'm ready to incorporate all of our tomato creamy sauce. And this now is going to be on a cooktop for the next 1 or 2 hours.
So while Debbie's version of the soup is continuing to cook, we're going to finish off our version, which is the lighter summery broth, by adding the pasta. Now you could add any type of pasta. We're adding our kidney beans and our greens. Now we're going to use kale today, but if you choose a more tender green like spinach, you're going to want to wait till the very end to add it. We're going to add this and then let the soup continue to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes until the pasta is done. Soup's on.
Finally. Oh, my soup took a little bit longer, but it's worth it. Oh my gosh, I'm ready to dive in. But before we start, I wanted to mention that we have 8 of the 12 categories nailed for Dr. Michael Greger's Daily Dozen.
All in one meal.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I also, before we go, I want to add some vegan Parmesan cheese to our soup. Now this recipe is right below the video, and you may even want to double it because we put this on everything and it's really that delicious.
And we also send out more information about all of our recipes every week. So if you haven't yet, we encourage you to go online and sign up for our weekly newsletter, and you'll receive more information about these recipes, lots of resources, and more.
We hope you enjoyed our time together.
And if you like cooking with plants, be sure to visit almostvegancookingschool.com and enroll in our online cooking course.
It's all in an effort to heal our bodies, heal each other, and heal our world. One recipe at a time.